Hello, welcome to Darasa Online. My name is Mr. Kileo Abubakar Davidson. I am a geography teacher. Okay, today we are going to discuss, to learn about what we call the topographical map interpretation, and we are going to deal with map interpretation and analysis. Listen to me very carefully. Today we are going to deal with topographical map interpretation, and we will focus more on what we call map interpretation and map analysis. So by going back on a few minutes, I want to make a simple summary of what is map reading, what is map interpretation, and what is map analysis, okay? Map reading will refer to the process of identifying features found on a mapped area. Features found on a mapped area. If you look carefully on your map sheet and you see maybe there is a road there, then you want to know what type of road is that. Maybe you see there is a settlement, for instance, and you want to see what type of settlement is that. Maybe you see there is a lake, there is this type of climate, etc., etc. So map reading is just the process of identifying the features found on a mapped area without doing anything. It means you do not make or you do not do what we call map interpretation or analysis. You just identify the features found on a mapped area by using the conventional sign and symbol found in your key. Thereafter, what is map interpretation? Map interpretation, it means right now, maybe after identifying it, means after the map reading, it means you have to explain either the role, the characteristic, or the significance of that feature found on the map area. For instance, let's say you have identified there is this type of roads, you see? So in map interpretation, it means you'll explain the characteristic of that road. For instance, the length of that road, you see? That's one. Or maybe you want to know what type of road is this. Maybe is it a loose surface road or the bound surface road? Is it the tarmac or the loose surface roads? So in explaining maybe it is a tarmac road, it means you are explaining the characteristic of that road, you see? You want to know maybe what distance it has. It means maybe from this point of the road to other point of the road, maybe it's 20 kilometers. It means you are explaining the characteristic of that road. Or other way, you want to know the usefulness of that road, the importance of that road, you see? So once you explain the importance of that road, it means you are explaining the significance of that road. So if you are, you are explaining either the characteristic, the role, or the significance of the features found on the mapped area, we call it the map interpretation. Then going back to what is called map analysis, it means map analysis, it is a process of identifying features found on the map area and explaining their interrelationship, see, between each other. Let's say, for instance, you have identified maybe the general configuration of the mapped area. It is a highland area with a steep slope. Then we are going to see how does it influence, for instance, the drainage pattern, you see, found on the mapped area. It means there is a relationship there between the presence of the general configuration of the land surface of the mapped area and what we call the drainage pattern of the mapped area. Or sometimes we may be able to explain the relationship between either the vegetation of the mapped area and the climate of that area. See? So there is a relationship. So what I'm trying to say is, if you are looking on the relationship found between different features found in the map area, we call it map analysis. If you are trying to explain either the role, the characteristics, or the significance of the features found in the map area, it means you are doing map interpretation. If you have just identifying the features found in the map area and you didn't do anything or you do not do anything, it means you are explaining what we call map reading. So I want to make it a clear, summary of what I've said, that we have what we call map reading, we have what we call map interpretation, and we have what we call map analysis. Map reading, interpretation, and the map analysis. See? So in map reading, it means right now we observe the features found on the mapped area, only that. So you observe and then you identify what it is that features found on the mapped area. So observe and identify. Identify features found on a mapped area. Mapped area by using the conventional sign and symbol. See? So you just observe, you have to observe and identify the feature. We call it the map interpretation. But in map reading. But in map interpretation, it means right now you have to identify features found on the map area and explain their role, characteristic, and the significance of the features found on the mapped area. So you can see the difference right now. Right here, you've just identified the features found on the mapped area, and then you leave as it is. But right here, you have to identify the features found on the mapped area. Then you have to explain the role, the characteristics, the significance of that features found on the mapped area. So come to what you call map analysis. In map analysis right now, we are explaining, after identifying the features, then we have to show the interrelationship between each feature found on the map area. It means right now in map analysis, we show the interrelationship between features found on a mapped area. See? Example. You want to know the relationship between relief and drainage. There is a relationship between relief and drainage. The relationship between vegetation and climate. You see? Why is this type, why there is this type of vegetation? There is this type of vegetation because it is influenced, or there is a relationship between the climate of a given map. See, for instance, why do we have a dense forest in equatorial areas? We have dense forest in equatorial area because we have high amount of rainfall, and that is the relationship between vegetation and the climate. Let's see the relationship between soil or rocks nature and the settlement. You see, there is a relationship between rocks nature or the soil type and the settlement. Most of the people, especially the farmers, they like to settle in a place where there is a good soil for agricultural activities. So you may find most of them, they'll be accumulated in area with fertile soil. Why? Because they will do their activities in a sustainable way. Then by going back, I can say, I'm sure you have understood, you have understanding this concept right here, that we have what we call map reading, map interpretation, as well as the map analysis. So from here, without wasting time, because I know you've studied it in your, at your school most of the time. So let's see some of the questions which are competent questions based on how are we going to answer some of the questions. You see? Listen to me very carefully. We are going to see some of the questions which are based on exams or questions. So most of these questions, they are competent questions. And what I said here, the questions, they are not asked direct, you see? So you are the one who are supposed, who will be supposed to identify the key needs of the question. Are we together? Okay, let's see the question right here that you may find it in your examination as a Form 6 student who is taking geography. So explain the type and nature of vegetation distribution on a map. The question needs to explain the types and the nature of what vegetation distribution found on a map. So the point is, when you're explaining, or what are the key needs of this question, it means we have to explain the type and nature of vegetation distribution. So by starting, it means you have to explain what is the vegetation. It means you have to show the definition of vegetation. We all know that the vegetation refers to the natural planted trees found in the map area. The natural planted trees found in the map area, we call them, or we call it vegetation. So vegetation refers to the natural planted trees found on a mapped area. See? So we have two types of, we have a lot of natural planted trees found on the mapped area. We have the woodland, the scrub, the, what we call the scattered trees, the forest, etc. So most of these are the natural planted trees, but we can categorize them sometimes as artificial vegetation in case there is preservation of what we call the forest reserve. You found a forest, then you want to, you manage it so that it can be for a particular goal or plan. It means that we call it the artificial forest reserve. So by taking forest reserve as an example, it's not the natural vegetation. We call them the artificial what? Vegetation. So we can divide the vegetation found in the map into two. We have the natural vegetation as well as the artificial vegetation. Example, the forest reserve, the plantation found on a given map. See? So then from there, the question needs to explain the type and the nature. So it means in types of vegetation, in type of vegetation found in the map area, it means we have two types. We have the natural vegetation as well as the artificial vegetations. So what are the natural vegetation? It means these are the vegetation that found naturally. For instance, example of these are, we have the what we call the woodlands. You see, the scrubs, the scattered trees, foresty, etc. These are examples of what we call the natural vegetation. Then we have the artificial vegetation. Most of this artificial vegetation, as I said, are the, for instance, forestry reserve areas. It means we have area where we found forests which are reserved. You see, so most of this forest reserve we take an example is an example of what we call the artificial vegetation found on a mapped area. So this is the type of vegetation. Let's go to the nature of vegetation distribution. See, nature of vegetation distribution. It means the nature of the vegetation distribution. We say vegetation distribution by definition. Vegetation distribution refers to the presence or the absence of a certain plant species or vegetation species on a mapped area. The presence or the absence. It means we are talking of the presence or absence of vegetation species or presence or absence of species of vegetation on a mapped area. What I mean is, let us take an example. Let's say this is our map sheet, see? Then we found right here, this is our map. You may find maybe the southern eastern part of my map, there is few vegetation. Then you find right here at the central part of the map, there is no vegetation. Then you find this point here at the northern western part of my map, there is few vegetation or more vegetation. So what is vegetation distribution by definition, as I said, we refer to either the presence or the absence of a particular species of plants on a mapped area. We found right here there are few or many vegetation, then right here there is no vegetation. Then we found right here there is few or more vegetation. It means the presence or the absence of a particular plant species on a given mapped area, we call it the vegetation distribution. How do vegetation species distributed all over the mapped area? That's the vegetation distribution. So, in explaining the nature of the vegetation distribution, it means they need us to explain how do vegetation distribution or variation found within the map area. So we have two types of or nature of vegetation distribution. We have the even vegetation distribution, and the uneven vegetation distribution. Listen to me very careful. We have the even vegetation distribution and the uneven vegetation distribution. What I mean, it means you may find some of the vegetation, they are equally distributed all over the mapped area. You see? Even means equal distribution of vegetation, which occurred in a very rare case. You cannot find maybe the scattered trees, they are almost the whole mapped area covered equally. It's in very rare cases you may find that, such type of vegetation covered the whole map evenly. You see, so most of the question, most of the answer it is, if they ask you explain the nature of the vegetation distribution, most of the time we found this one. It is the correct answer, that there is an equal vegetation distribution all over the mapped area. Why? Because you may find right here, you may find scrubs, you see? Few scrub right here. Then right here you may find no scrub. Then at the top of the mapped area, maybe at the northern eastern part of the map, right here you may find also what? Scrub. Right here you may find other type of plant species, maybe the woodland. So because the vegetation, the distribution of the vegetation on a mapped area is not equal, then we say there is an even vegetation distribution. That's the nature of vegetation distribution. But sometimes we have the even vegetation distribution in some part of the mapped area. For instance, let's say you found vegetation maybe at this part right here. It is covered this part, all over this part. You see, so you may find it at the southern eastern part of my map, there is even vegetation distribution. Why? Maybe because the scrub has covered the whole part of the southern eastern part of my map. Then we call it even vegetation distribution. But I repeat, this one, the uneven vegetation distribution, this is our correct answer mostly. Because why? Because most of the vegetation, they will rarely cover the whole map, as I've explained earlier. So let's see another question based on topographical map interpretation. Okay, now let us see this. The second questions. Assume that you have been provided with the topographical map. How can you identify different type of drainage system in relation to rock structure of the mapped area? So let us see what are the key needs of the question. That we are assuming that we have provided with the topographical map. Then how can you identify different type of drainage system? It means the question needs us to identify different type of drainage system, but in relation to rock structure of the mapped area. So it means first it need to explain different type of drainage system. That is the first need of the question. Second, it needs us to show the relationship. It means it needs us to analyze the features found on the map area, because it needs us to explain the relationship between drainage, system and the rock structure. Okay, so let's see what is drainage. Drainage will refer to the natural outlay of water bodies over the mapped area. The natural movement of water bodies over the mapped area, we call it the drainage. Then what is the drainage system? The drainage system will refer to the presence of any form of water bodies over the mapped area. Listen to me very carefully. There is a difference between the drainage and drainage system. Drainage system will refer to the natural overflow, the natural outlay of water bodies, especially river and its distributary or tributary over the mapped area, we call it the drainage. Then the drainage system will refer to the presence of any form of water bodies over the mapped area. So right now we have to explain different type of drainage system. It means, as I said, the drainage system will refer to any form. The presence of any form of water bodies over the mapped area, we call it the drainage system. So it means in explaining the drainage system found on the mapped area, the drainage system on a mapped area can be, it can be rivers flowing to different directions within the mapped area. So can be rivers flowing to different directions. Can be river tributary. See? Tributaries. Can be river distributaries. or the presence of lake of the mapped area. It's either the normal lake or whatever type of lake that you may find in your map on your mapped area. The drainage system can be sea or the presence of oceans. See, within your mapped area. The drainage system can be the presence of seasonal swamps found in your mapped area. These are drainage systems. These are the drainage system. Or sometimes the drainage system can be the presence of water holes. Right here we are talking about wells and spring. You see, these are the most of the drainage systems that we may find on our mapped area. So these are the drainage system. But the question is different type of drainage system. See, different type of drainage system. Remember, we have two type of drainage system right here. We have two type of drainage system. These are example of what we call the drainage system. Are we together, student? This is an example of what we call the drainage system. But we have two type of drainage system. Types of drainage system. Type of drainage systems, we have two types. There is accordance drainage system, and the second one is discordant drainage system. It means the accordant drainage system, this is the drainage system on which the rivers and other water bodies on the mapped area flows in accordance to rock structure and slope. We call them accordant drainage system. Why is the discordant drainage system? This is the drainage system in which the rivers and other water bodies, they flow not in accordance with the rock structure and what? And the geomorphology or slope. Right here in the discordant drainage system, we have three types of drainage system. We have the antecedent, superimposed, as well as the anteposition drainage system. But back to accordance drainage system, we have those drainage systems which flow in accordance to rock structure and geomorphology. Most of this accordance drainage system right here, accordance drainage system, because as you can see, or you can refer our question need us to explain a different type of drainage system in relationship to what? To rock structure. It means it needs us to explain what we call the accordance drainage what? Drainage system. Because this is the drainage system where the rivers or our water bodies flows in accordance to what? To rock structure and geomorphology. So the question need right now to explain the drainage system, but which are in relationship to what? To the rock structure of a given mapped area. So let's see what are those drainage systems which are in relationship to what we call the rock structure and the geomorphology. We have different types of drainage system which are in accordance to, which are found in accordance to rock structure and the geomorphology. One is radial drainage pattern. Radial drainage pattern will refer to the drainage pattern on which the river flows from common point to different direction. I repeat, radial drainage pattern is one amongst the drainage system which flow in accordance to the rock structure found on the map area. Then what is radial drainage pattern? Radial drainage pattern refers to the drainage pattern on which the river flows following the nature of the rocks. They flow from common point to different direction. For instance, let's say there is a dome right here, where at its top there is a spring. Automatically, when the spring outflow, it means it may form a river, which may flow to either direction from the common point to different direction. And we call it the radial drainage system. So how do the rivers flow into different direction? It flows to different direction. Why? Because we are assuming, or it is on this nature. Let's assume this is highland area. Then right here there is either spring or ice melt. So once the ice will melt, it means the river will flow to this direction, as you can see, from common point to different direction. We call it radial drainage pattern. These are drainage pattern, as I said, which are where the river following what you call the nature of the rock. Then the second one is centripetal drainage pattern. The centripetal drainage pattern, it is the opposite of the radial drainage pattern. Why? Let's see. It means in centripetal drainage patterns, the rivers, they are flowing from different directions and they come to converge or they meet at one point right here at either the basin or at the depression. So it means this area, these are upland area where the river originated. It means the river right now, they move from highland area to the lowland area, as you can see. Let's say, for instance, this is our area right here. It means if there is a source of rivers at this point, it means right now the river will flow from this direction, from this point towards this point. You see? Right, then they'll come and meet at this point right here, at the basin, or at the depression right here. That's why we call the centripetal drainage pattern. That the river, they are flowing following the rock's nature and slope or geomorphology. As you can see right now, rivers, they are flowing from different directions. They come, or they meet, or they converge at this point. And we call this the centripetal drainage pattern. Then let's see the other drainage pattern where the rivers, drainage system where the river flowing, forming, or following the rock structure and geomorphology. Another one is what we call the dendritic drainage pattern. Dendritic drainage pattern. It means right now the river will flow forming the shape of the branches of tree or leaf with vein. The river will flow forming the shape of the branches of tree or leaf with vein, and we call it the dendritic drainage pattern. So, as you can see, why do the river forming this kind of shape? It is because we are assuming at this point the nature of the rock is hard, but at this point right here the nature of the rock is what? Is soft. That's why the rivers was trying to form different channels from the common point. So the direction of the flowing of river, it depends. See, it may be flowing from this direction towards this direction, or it may be flowing from this direction toward that direction. But right now we are trying to explain the type of drain system where the river is flowing in accordance to rock structure, as you can see. It forms the shape of the branches of tree because we are assuming at this point right here there is rock which are made of what? Of soft rock or permeable rocks, which allow rivers to deviate to different directions, forming the shape of the branches of trees. Then let's see another type of drainage system where the river flow following the rock's nature or rock structure. We have what we call the parallel drainage system. The parallel drainage system, it means right now you found two rivers flowing parallel, either to the same direction, to different directions. For instance, you might find two rivers flowing parallel, either to different direction. You see, this is river 1, this is river 2. You may find parallel flowing of rivers, either to different direction. As you can see, this one is flowing towards this direction, while the river 2 is flowing towards this direction. Or they may be parallel in the same direction. For instance, the one we found at the river capturing area. You see, they are flowing towards the same direction, but as you can see, they are in parallel situation. Then we have what we call the trellis drainage pattern. The trellis drainage pattern refers to the drainage pattern on which the rivers flowing, forming, or meet each other at less than 90 degrees. Trellis drainage pattern. Drainage pattern. It means right now the rivers, they are flowing, but they meet each other at less than 90 degrees. Let's say it is the main rivers flowing to either of the direction. Then we have this one is distributary, or sometimes you may have the tributary. This one is tributary, this one is distributary. Then this one, it is the main river. The main river. So as you can see right now, the river and its distributary or tributary, they meet at less than 90 degrees, and we call it the trellis drainage pattern. Then apart from this, we have what we call the rectangular drainage pattern or drainage system. The rectangular drainage pattern, the rectangular drainage pattern. The rectangular drainage pattern, it means the river and its distributary or tributaries, they meet at exactly right angle. So you may find this is the main river. Let's assume this is the main river. Then we have its distributor. This is distributor. Then we have the tributary. Tributary will refer to the river stream which add water to the main river. This one, it is the main river. Main river. While the distributor refer to the river stream which lets water from the main river. So this one is distributary. So as you can see right here, it means the tributary or the distributors, they meet with what? With the main river at exact right angle. And we call it the rectangular drainage pattern. Then why? It is because this area is made up of very hard rock. For instance, the metamorphic rock. That's why sometimes it happens during the earthquake. It means after the earthquake, you may find the fault line. Then we assume right now, if there is the widening up of the fault line, automatically it will form a river valley, where water will be able to follow what we call the water course, and forming this type of what? Of drainage pattern. We call it the rectangular drainage pattern. But going back there to release the drainage pattern, this is a common type of drainage system found on your map. Why? Because it occurs in almost the other type almost on the other type of drainage system. It may occur in either release drainage pattern or the ragio. Then thank you. By making a simple summary of how or what happened, it means this type of drainage pattern which occur as a result of the rock structure and what? And geomorphology. But the other one that I've mentioned, that if somebody asks you, explain the drainage system, listen to me very carefully. If the question is asking you to explain the drainage system, it means you'll based on either the presence of rivers, lake, sea, ocean, seasonal swamp, etc., etc. But if the question, for instance, asks you to explain the drainage pattern, it means you'll focus on what I've explained right here. So thank you. Let us see the third question. Okay, let's see the third question. The third question said, it asked that soil types on a mapped area is a result of the presence of parental or mother rocks found on a mapped area. Soil types is a result of the presence of the parental or mother rock found on a mapped area. With vivid example, explain its nature and the processes that resulted to it. So it needs us to explain type of soil found on a mapped area and its nature, as well as the processes that has resulted to that type of soil. Are we together? So we all know what is soil. So let's go back to the map. Let us see the process and the nature and the process of the that have resulted to different type of soil that found on the map area. So by starting without wasting time, we have two type or three type of soil found on the map area, and normally we have two type. I insist, normally we have two type depending on the process. Why? Because most of the processes are the volcanic processes, as well as the deposition and the erosion processes. Deposition or the erosion processes. So most of these processes, they may result to the formation of different type of soil. Why? Let's take an example. During the either plate or the continental drift, it may there is the movement of the land. You see? So the movement of the land may either form different type of landform over the mapped area. Because we are talking about the map right now, it means we may find, for instance, the presence of a mountain. You see, the highland area. So most of the soil found in mountain areas is a result of what? Is a volcanic process which is in which it occurred in relation to what we call the continental or the plate movement. It means most of the soil found in this area are volcanic what? The volcanic soil. Why? Because there was the process of volcanic eruption before, which resulted in the formation of what? Of, for instance, the volcanic mountain. So most of the soil found in highland areas, for instance, are volcanic soil. Then we go to the other type of soil we call either the deposition soil. Most of the deposition soil are the soils that found in area of lows or lowland areas. You see why? Because we are taking erosion and deposition process as a result of the formation of that type of soil. And most of these soils, they are found on the what we call river mouths or in lowland areas. Most of the in some part of the rivers called estuary, for instance, or in what we call the rias. Rias are the river valleys where the river is right now to the process of taking water into the ocean, for instance, or in large water bodies. So at the point where right now the river is entering either to the other water bodies, you may find different or material are deposited there. So sometimes it may result to the formation of what we call the alluvial soil. That's why we say there are two types of soil depending on the process. So the process may be either deposition or the erosion process. So either deposition or the erosion process may result to the formation of what we call the alluvial soil or the deposition soil, depending on different type of material carried to that point. But also, as I said at the previous, that we have the what we call the volcanic soil. So by defining, we have either the volcanic soil. By summarizing, we have the volcanic soil resulting from what? From either plate movement or the volcanic process. Because normally the plate movement, it is appreciated by the movement, the occurrence of volcanic processes. So we found most of the soil found there is volcanic soil. Then we have what we call the deposition soil. Deposition soil. Most of these are alluvial soil. Alluvial soil. They are found in areas with very high rate of deposition. Example, at the river mouth. You see, at the river mouth, where the river carried and deposited all the material it carried from the upper and the middle stage of the river development. It means the material carried from the upper and the middle stage of the river development, they are normally deposited at the end stage or at the lower stage. And there is where we get what we call the deposition soil. So by referring to the mother rock right now, we are supposed to relate a type of soil, the process, nature is the relationship to the mother rock. We said most of the rock found in a mapped area are volcanic rocks, as well as the deposition rocks. Deposition rocks. So these rocks are the result of what? Of the different type of soil found on the mapped area. Why? Because we know there is no soil without the parent rock or the mother rock. We know first it means there should be the presence of the mother rock, so the mother rock can undergo disintegration through weathering and other erosion process to form what we call smallest particles. So these smallest particles may be deposited somewhere else and undergo further process to form what we call soil. So it means if the mother rock, it undergo erosion as a result of either volcanic process, it means it may form what we call the volcanic soil. Or if the mother rock will undergo erosion, later on the eroded material will be carried somewhere else and undergo deposition. It means that type of soil that will be formed there, we call it the deposition soil. Example, the alluvial soil. Soil found in river or at the river mouths. You see? Then from there, because the question needs us to explain what? It needs us to explain the nature and the process that resulted to it. It means I have explained we have two types of soil, the volcanic soil as well as what? The deposition soil. What happened to the mother rock? It means we have the volcanic rock as the mother rock, which resulted to what we call the volcanic soil, as well as the deposition rock as a mother rock, which resulted to what? To deposition soil. What happened to this mother rock? I have explained. Either erosion have undergone, the volcanic rock have undergone erosion, see, to form what we call the volcanic soil. And the deposition rocks right now have undergone what we call different processes, including weathering. Later on, the material get deposited somewhere, forming different type of soil. Examples, the alluvial soil found at the river mouth. Thank you. Then let's see the next question. Okay, let's see the fourth question right here. It's written, the presence of rural and urban, the presence of rural or urban area on a map is a result of many factors. Explain with vivid example from a map factor influencing the area to be urban or rural. So, as you can read the question right here. The key needs of the question, it requires us to explain factors that influence the area to be urban or rural. So before going on, let me explain how is urban or rural area seen on a map. So urban area on a map can be represented by dot mixed with very small rectangle or squares. Listen to me very carefully. We use squares, many small squares, you see, found on a map. It's found a lot of or many squares drawn on a mapped area. It means the area, it's automatically the urban area. But the rural area, it is represented by small circular dots. See? Small circular dots. So if you see many dots which are in a circular shape arranged or found in your map, it means automatically the area is rural. Listen to me very careful. We look on the shape of the pattern or different shape found on a mapped area to identify is it urban or rural area. So rural area, as I said, it is represented by circular dots, while the urban area, it is represented by square dots. See? Square what? Square dots found on a mapped area. So sometimes you may find, for instance, let's say, let me give an example. You may find, let's say, this is a map sheet. See? And then we have different small dotted, this one, circular dotted, mixed with the square dotted, this one. Circular dot mixed with what? With square dot. So if we find them, you see, arranged in different parts of the map, automatically the area is urban area. Why? Because we said if the area have small dots, the circular small dots only, it means the area is rural. But if they mixed with the square dots, not the only circular, it means they have mixed the square dots and the circular dots. It means the area right now, it is urban. So this is urban area, see? This is urban what? Urban area. But if we found maybe, let's say this is map B, this is map A, then this is map B. You find only dots, see? Circular dots all over the mapped area. It means right now you can say this type of settlement, it is a rural area. See? This, it is what? It is a rural area. Let's take maybe it got only very few, only one, the rectangular or the square dot, like this one. So it is still the rural area. This is rural area. Rural area. So in either urban or rural area, we may find some smallest type of what? Of settlement. Either in rural, we may find nucleated, we may find scattered, and we may find the linear settlement, as well as in rural. In rural also we may find the nucleated, the scattered, as well as what? The linear. We all know what is nucleated. It means nucleated if there is compacted of many settlement in one area. Scattered, it means the dispersed of settlement in different area. While the linear, you find the arrangement of settlement along either the river, the railway, or roads. You see, those are the pattern of the settlement. So as I can explain, or as the question need right now, it needs us not to explain type of settlement found on the map here. It needs us to explain the factors that has influenced the area on the map to be either urban or the rural area. So let's see the factors. Factors are, let me explain the factor right here. Factors that influence the area on a map to be either urban or rural area. we have many factors influencing the area to be urban or rural area. It means we have two factors right here, right now. We have the pull factors as well as the push factors. So remember, the pull factor are the one who attract people to move to the area of destination, maybe because there is good in employment, there is good in social service, there is good in security, etc., etc. Those are the pull factors. The push factor are the factor that remove people from the area of origin to a certain destination. It means we have a factor which causes you to move from where you are to somewhere else because of maybe you don't want to stay to the area of origin. You want to go to somewhere else. Maybe, let me take an example of push factor. For instance, maybe civil war, you see, unemployment, etc., etc. So, in general, because the question needs us to explain factors that may influence the area on the map either to be rural or urban. So, we write the general factors, see? So, the general factor. So, let's take the first factor is maybe the climatic condition. The climatic factors, you see? For instance, temperature, rainfall, you see, etc., etc. Some people, they move to area of origin somewhere else because maybe the area where they are right now, it is too hot. And they do not want to stay or to live in an area which is too hot. It means they may shift to the area where the temperature of that area is moderate, see? Rainfall, the presence of rainfall. Rainfall may also influence people to shift from one area to another area. For instance, people who are involved in agricultural activity. If they are in an area where there is little or no rainfall, automatically they may shift to the area where there is high rainfall in order for them to do the agricultural activity. That's the first point. Then we have the soil or the edaphic factor. The soil or the edaphic what? Edaphic factors. Most of the people, they tend or likely to live in the area of good soil, see, for agricultural reasons. But most of the people, sometimes they may shift from one area to another area to look for good soil. So we have the soil or the edaphic factor. Then from there, nature of the relief. Nature of the relief. The general appearance of the land surface, it may influence the area to be urban or rural. For instance, most of the people, they likely to live in area where there is no high mountain with steep slopes. Remember, in area of high mountain or area of highland area with steep slopes, it's the area where you cannot establish settlement in an easy way. See, it's the area where, for instance, the construction of road is hard. So you may find nature of the relief may influence the area to be either rural or urban. For instance, most of the urban areas, they are located in a lowland area. And most of the rural areas, sometimes you may find very few houses or settlement around or along mountains, slopes. Why? Because the nature of the relief has influenced you to shift from one area to another area, depending on how people want to live according to different activities that they may conduct in those areas. So nature of the relief may influence people to live the area, or may influence the area to be urban or what? Or rural. We have the nature of the security. We say defense and security. Defense and what? And security. Most of the people, they are likely to live in the area of political stability. So in area where there is political instability, it means most of the people, they tend to shift to the area where there is political stability in terms of wars, civil wars, etc., etc. So we may find area with good defense and security, there is more people there, see? While area with area of insecurity or less defense and security, there is few people over there. Then we have nature of the transport. Nature of transport and communication. This is another factor that may affect the area to be rural or urban. As you can see, most of the urban areas, they have good transport and communication facilities compared to rural areas. So most of the people in rural areas, they may shift to urban area only depending on the nature of transport. of a given area. Then from there, we have what we call the relation factor, relationship factors. Some people, they may move to different area depending on the relationship of a particular issue that they may face. For instance, marriage, education, etc., etc. Then we have another factors. Natural hazards, or we call them calamites. You see, the presence of natural hazards, for instance, presence of floods, may cause people to shift from the area of original to somewhere else. Earthquake, volcanic eruption, outbreak of diseases may cause people to shift from the area of origin to somewhere else. So these are among the factors that may cause the area to be rural or urban. And remember, sometimes we consider the area to be rural because of the presence of few people. See, so the presence of few people, they may not allow, for instance, the government to establish good roads, provide good social services. You see, good market. You see, the presence of postal and police posts in large amount. Why? Because there are few people there. That's why we say these are the common factors that may cause the area either to be urban or rural area. So, by summarizing the lesson today, please, in map question, remember this, because I did not show in my explanation right here, because I do not have the map sheet exactly. But if you are in a class, for instance, and you have your map sheet, so remember to cite or to show the reference once answering this kind of question. You have to show maybe this point, maybe the eastern part of my map, it seems to have, for instance, in soil, it's a question which is related to soil. We have this type of soil because of 1, 2, 3. Or this part of my map, the northern eastern part of my map, we have the volcanic soil due to the presence of highland area with steep slopes. You see, maybe the central part of my map, we have this type of vegetation. So it is very, very important to cite or to show the reference during answering this kind of question, especially in map reading and what? And interpretation. So until the next time, you are most welcome.